first trailer for Bullet Train dropped, I was hooked. From Brad Pitt playing a peace-loving assassin with a Japanese version of Stayin Alvie was enough for me to be intrigued to go to the theater and watch it. And seeing that David Leitch, creator and director of Deadpool 2, was directing this film, I was sold. After going to see it in theaters for 127 minutes, I can say that it was an entertaining watch, but it left a lot to be desired. So don't get me wrong, I think that the film had this bright moments of glory, but unfortunately it had a lot of flaws that held the film back from being something more, like something a little bit above the echelon of where it is now. The story itself had potential to be a very intriguing plot for a film of this type, but besides the premise, the film doesn't do enough to really take the plot and make it something truly unique. It kind of just seems that we're going to take different beats from other movies like this, and we're just going to put it in our film. Like, when you tell me something, assassins or killers on the train, I think Commuter, or The Taking of Pelham 123, or that movie Source Code with Jake Gyllenhaal, I think I believe. But I can see the story being told in another film and possibly being done better in that film. And I think that's one of the big things with Bullet Train is that the plot, even though it's based on a book back in 2010, I still feel like that the plot of this film could be used somewhere else, and it could be a little bit done better with the executions. But the characters are truly something else, though. I would tell you about each of them in their treats, but the problem is that there are way too many characters in this film. I know they were going for with a lot of characters. It's like, it's like a who's who of wacky characters in this like wacky world of like killing and such, but there's a point where it becomes nauseating to keep up with who is who and what significance they have to the plot. And it gets to the point where a lot of the characters besides Brad Pitt are very one-dimensional and they don't really have anything to make them stand out. It's like they introduce like, well, two characters, I'm not going to spoil it, but they get introduced and they're like supposed to be like, oh, these badass characters, and they last like maybe like 2 minutes, and you're like, what was the point of that if you're going to tease us like that? Like I'm saying, like you could have cut those characters out and it would have not made the film any different. You just had them in there for like, oh, look who's that, and I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I just felt like there was way too many characters. One thing I will say about this film that works for me is the action was very well done. There were some scenes where I felt like the action was unique, fun, and sometimes funny to watch, and that's something I can appreciate whenever an action film. That's what happens when you have the director of Deadpool 2 doing a movie like this. But, however, the last thing that I can leave off with on this review is that Bullet Train tries way too hard to be witty and snappy with its dialogue. Don't get me wrong, some of the jokes and dialogue got a good laugh from me, but it tried a little too hard to do that MCU Tony Stark snappy, like smart aleck dialogue, and it got a little repetitive and annoying at times. It was just like, it kept going with the joke. It was just like, okay, you know, I get what you're doing, but you know, can we just turn it down a little bit and kind of just go with the plot? And that was a little annoying. And if you're a fan, if you're not a fan of that witty, quick, snapping dialogue, then I don't think Bullet Train would be for you in that aspect of it. Bullet Train was released on August 5th, 2022 with a budget ranging from $85.9 to $90 million. So far in its box office run, and as of August 21st, 2022, it has gone on to gross $150 million worldwide. Overall, Bullet Train is just a popcorn action flick. There's some fun to be had with it, but nothing will leave you leaving the theater asking questions. But for this film, that's not that bad. And I'm going to give Bullet Train a 7 out of 10.